Welcome back. We had a little bit of a false start. I forgot to record the volume on the first video. So here we go. I'm looking at 1 square root, and for number 1, going through simplifying, just 1 square root, I'm going to look to simplify the numbers by breaking it down into prime numbers that multiply. So for example, 2 times 24, and I'm going to keep going until I get to 2's, 3's, 5's, and maybe 7's, maybe 11's. 24 is 2 and 12. I hope your multiplication is getting a little bit better here. And you know that 12 is 2 times 6. And you know that 6 is 2 times 3. We also want to break down these letters on the inside. The best way to do that is just to write them out. We're going to have x, 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 x. It says x6, so we write 6 x's. And we do the same with the y's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we do it the same with the z's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now that we've done all of that, we want to circle and figure out what stuff is coming to the outside. Now for this question, are we circling doubles or triples? So we're always going to look for the index, which is in this little pocket here. If you don't see any number, goodness gracious, it's going to be doubles. It's Monday, you know, sometimes people say things funny, no big deal. Circling doubles. I'm not ashamed to pronounce a word wrong every now and then. Circle up our double 2's, circle up our double x, double x, double x, double y, double y, double y, double y, double y, and double z, double z, double z. So we've got a whole bunch of doubles for this question. All of these doubles need to be coming outside, but also make sure you're kind of keeping track of what stuff did not get circled, right? So I see that my 3 here did not get circled, and also I have one sneaky little z that also did not get circled. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this with an answer where I'm going to bring all of the circles to the outside. That's going to be a 2 that comes out, and that's going to be another 2 that comes out. And don't forget that this question starts with a 2 that is already on the outside. So actually, we're going to have a negative 2 and a 2 and a 2. And all of those things will not make 6. They will make 8. If you're not sure, negative 2 times 2 times 2 is negative 8. A very common Algebra 1 mistake is that 2 times 2 times 2 makes 6. But it doesn't. It makes 8. Now, all of the letters, we're going to have 1, 2, 3 x's. So we're going to put x cubed. Remember, it's just 1 for every circle, so don't overcomplicate it. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 y's. So I'm going to put y power 5. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 3 z's. I'm going to put 3 z's. Let's make sure we're following along. We're writing this down. We're not on the computer, not on the YouTube. We're locked in. Finishing up by finding anything that's left over, which is just a 3 and a z. 3 and a z. And you know what? This question is not too bad. Take your time, simplify them, go from there. Now, probably a little bit more difficult, or at least a little bit harder to remember because we just learned it for the first time when we practiced this on Friday, is how do you multiply radicals? Now, multiplying radicals are kind of the easiest thing to do with radicals. They kind of make the most sense, okay? When you multiply radicals, you're going to multiply, of course, the outsides together. And guess what you're going to do with the insides? You're going to multiply the insides together. So you've got outside numbers, they can mix, and then you've got inside numbers, and they can mix. But an outside number should never mix with an inside number. Now, for question number 2, multiply outsides together, there's not really any outside numbers, right? If I look in front of this 30 or in front of this 12, there's not really any numbers there. And maybe we could put a 1, but the idea is don't ever have a 1 in any of these square root questions. You'll be okay. You don't need a 1. If you ever get a 1, you've done something wrong. You've done something too much. Okay, so let's leave them off. But we can multiply the insides together, which is the 30 and the 12. So let's just use Desmos to multiply these together. 30 times 12, which is 360. And so square root 360, there we go. We multiplied the square roots together. That wasn't very difficult. If that was all we had to do, it would pretty much be over. And that's a little too easy. So not only do you have to multiply them together, but you also need to break that number down once you get your new bigger number. Let's make sure our phones are put away. Under your lap is still on the phone. 2 times 180, 2 times 90, 2 times 45, 3 times 15, and 3 times 5. Sorry for maybe going a little bit quick, but we've gotten a lot of practice breaking these down. And that's not really the new stuff today. You know, you go on Desmos, take it one at a time, type 360 divided by 2, you get 180. 180 divided by 2, you get 90. 90 divided by 2, right? So just keep working like that. We've practiced this before. Now, we're going to circle all of our doubles. We've got double 2s, double 3s. I see we have a leftover 2 and a leftover 5. Remember, we only work with 2s, 3s, 5s. We're not going to deal with any of these numbers that are on top of the triangle, just the numbers at the bottoms. That's going to be a 2 that comes out and a 3 that comes out. Was there any numbers hanging out outside beforehand? No. So it's just 2 times 3, which makes 6. And then left over on the inside, 10. And we got 10 because it's 2 times 5, which makes 10. And so our answer should be 6 square root 10. Now, we talked about this last week, kind of one of the last times I'll show it to you. If you're ever not sure, SQRT 30 times SQRT 12 is the same thing as SQRT 360 is the same thing as 6 SQRT 10. All of these decimals are the same decimal, so we can trust that this is the right answer. Okay, now we've got 2 more. This is where it gets a little bit more interesting, okay? Because these questions actually have numbers that are outside the square root, like 8 and -3, and numbers that are inside, like 10 and 5. And so when we multiply these, just make sure that the outside stuff is allowed to mingle and hang out together, but the inside stuff should not be mixing with the outside stuff. So green and orange should never mix, but we can multiply orange times orange and 8 times -3. Use Desmos. I'll do this one for you. 8 times -3, -24. And then multiply 10 times 5. That's the inside number. And you guys can handle this one. What's 10 times 5? 50. Thank you. Even for a Monday, we can do that in our head. Now again, once we get this far, we're not done. We need to break down this number. Are we going to break down the 24 or the 50?
Yep.
Obviously the 50. And we've done 50 a lot. 50 is 2 times 25. And 25 is 5 and 5. And we circle the 5s, and we bring them to the outside, and we have a leftover 2. And so the answer is 5 square root 2. What do you think? Correct. This is wrong. Be careful. What's the matter with this answer is this 24. Which also is on the outside. So when the 5 comes outside, there's already a 24 there. So we need to do -24 times 5, which is negative 120. You're definitely going to get some bigger numbers than we used to when we were just doing simplifying. Our answer will be negative 120 on the outside and square root 2 on the inside. If you want to check if you're right or not, check. We're just going to keep moving. Trust the teacher on this one, I guess. The only other thing worth pointing out before we do this last question is that this question number 2 has a single dot in the middle, which means multiply. This question 3 and 4 have parentheses. They all mean the same thing. So whether you have a dot, whether you have a square root, whether you have parentheses, whatever, they all mean the same thing. Okay. Working with question number 4 here, we're going to go ahead and multiply the outsides together and the insides together. So the insides are 3 and 27, and the outsides are blank and 6. So what do you think this blank times 6 is? It's just a 1. And again, you want to kind of avoid 1s, because like when it comes to square roots, 1s aren't very interesting. And so what is 1 times 6? Just a 6. And then 3 times 27 is 81.
Oh, you got
it. And from here, break it down, move it on. 81, we've also done 81 a couple times. 81 does not divide by 2. It divides by 3. Duh. We just did 3 times 27 makes 81. So guess what 81 is? 3 times 27, right? I mean, we just said 3 and 27 make 81. Then keep breaking it down. 27, 3 and 9, and 9 is 3 and 3. Now when I do this question, and we're finishing this up, I'm thinking to myself, well, 3 and 3, 3 and 3, do we have anything that is left over? Do we have anything that needs to stay inside? No, that means the 6 is on the outside, and the 3 is on the outside, and the 3 is on the outside, and there's absolutely nothing on the inside. So we're going to take all of this stuff, multiply it together, 6 times 3 times 3, and that's going to give us a normal regular number, 6 times 3 times 3, and the answer is just straight up 54. Okay? We do not need a square root because there's nothing left. There's nothing left inside there. Everybody was able to get out of the square root. Everybody was able to make it out. And that is kind of strange that when you multiply these two little square roots together, you end up getting out. But at the same time, the square root 81 is a perfect square. So of course we end up with nothing inside the square root because 81 is a perfect square. And just to prove it to you, you can always try this SQRT 3. Maybe we'll do parentheses 6 SQRT 27. And yeah, we get 54. Okay. That's going to end our kind of review. This ended up being a warm-up because I forgot to record the notes. But this is our review of multiplying radicals. It's really not too bad. Multiply the outsides together, multiply the insides together, and then simplify them. Adding and subtracting coming up next is a little bit harder.